The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 4, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs.
I now invite the Honourable the Minister for Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs to address the House. The Honourable Minister.
Honourable Chairperson, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, my colleagues, the Deputy Minister Nell and Deputy Minister Bapela, Mayors, Councillors, members of Executive Councils from the provinces, our traditional leaders, the Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee for COCTA, Honourable members, ladies and gentlemen. I have the honour to present budget number 4 of the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs in the 5th Democratic Parliament of South Africa. Today we reiterate our vision for cities, towns and villages in South Africa. A vision which underlines our values of human dignity, achievement of equality, advancement of human rights and freedoms, non-racialism and non-sexism. We submit a plan which recognizes that while building resilient institutions which serve the development and well-being of all our people is a decades-long task, we will implement concrete plans which positively impact on the lives of people over the next year. All sectors of our diverse and colorful nation, the poor, workers, professionals, small and big business people, the youth, the women, and all of our children live in our villages, towns, and cities. This government has both a long-term and immediate plan to respond to their needs and aspirations. In the NDP, we commit to doing things differently to improve the living conditions of our people, which requires improving the capabilities of the state. And of course, local government is a crucial part of the state. In the year ahead, we will make sure that the various elements of the Back to Basics program is implemented vigorously, and amongst other things, issues such as municipal debt and payment to Eskom, improved municipal procurement, pilot projects to strengthen districts, address the root causes of some of the conflicts that we have in our communities, introduce community feedback mechanisms, and enforce competency requirements to improve institutional capacity are implemented. This budget vote debate takes place against the backdrop of the passing of one of our struggle stalwarts and great leaders, Mayor Ruth Mompati, who dedicated her life to the creation of a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. She was the epitome of humility, selflessness, and concern for the plight of the poor. She served as the executive mayor of Naledi local municipality in Vryburg. As we mourn her passing, we recommit ourselves to the implementation of all measures necessary to bring about improvements in the administration of local affairs in order to impact positively on the living experiences of all communities in our country. It is of note that on this day, 64 years ago, on the 14th of May 1951, the Apartheid Parliament voted in favor of a bill for the removal of the colored people from the voters' roll. The colored communities of Cape Town embarked upon a campaign to oppose that bill and successfully challenged the bill in court in the Supreme Court, which declared the bill to be invalid. History has strange ways of revisiting us. But municipalities are an important sphere in government, and to reinforce this, let me outline some numbers for you. The combined budget of municipalities equals 380 billion rands approximately, both in terms of own revenue and transfers. Municipalities collect some 280 billion rands of their own revenue. They're responsible for some 407,000 kilometers of roads, of which some 300,000 are gravel roads and some 90,000 kilometers are paved roads. In 2011, municipalities collected 59 million tons of general waste. 5.9 million tons were recycled and 53 million tons had to be landfilled. It is clear that if we look at these numbers, local government is indeed an important crucible in which complex processes of development, governance, transformation, and the change in living conditions takes place. In my budget vote speech on the 17th of July last year, I highlighted the important role of government, local government, in giving concrete expression to a constitutional democracy, in promoting social justice and protecting human rights. I highlighted some of the successes we've had in the improvement of the quality of life, but also acknowledged that many challenges face us. In September last year, the President convened a presidential local government summit, which adopted the Back to Basics program as a government-wide program. Today, I'm pleased to present to this august House the positive developments that have taken place over the last year and those which we intend to implement over the next year. I can highlight the following as examples of a growing list of successes as a result of implementing the Back to Basics program. All provinces have established the Back to Basics provincial task teams. We have recognized the active participation and cooperation of departments of water and sanitation, public works, energy, and treasury, amongst others. Support plans have been developed for identified municipalities across the country and integrated into IDPs. COCTA has established a national monitoring center, and municipalities are beginning to report at this stage over 50% of them on a regular basis on the Back to Basics performance indicators. MECs report on their Back to Basics implementation successes and challenges in provinces at mid-MEC meetings that we hold. Although the municipal monthly Back to Basics reporting system was only launched in October, as I've pointed out, over 58% of the municipalities now report regularly. The aim of the system is to ensure that the indicators is to produce good quality, standardized, reliable, and consistent information in order to be able to support and intervene in municipalities where this is actually necessary. The following concrete progress in terms of rolling out the Back to Basics program has been reported by provinces up to the beginning of May this year. In relation to putting people first, restoring confidence in local government is obviously a vital priority. An example of our progress to put people first is illustrated through the Back to Basics task team, positive engagement, for example, with the Tabazimbi Ratepayers Association, to discuss the collapse of relations between ratepayers and the municipality. The chairperson of the business chamber had the following to say, and I quote, "At least they are starting having meetings with us and they are listening to us. They have changed the attitude towards the ratepayers. I must be honest. From the moment we spoke with the B2B team, I feel I can do something for my municipality. Tabazimbi can become the best municipality in South Africa. We are now kept informed about the state of municipal services and any interruptions in the services." This is but one of many examples of productive and constructive developments that have actually occurred. But key to progress in municipalities is the involvement of citizens. An understanding of public sentiment is powerful to determine the trends in service failures, but also successes. Citizens can help in the early identification of issues and service failures. We will pilot with selected municipalities and invite the public to submit complaints, compliments, and photographs of service failures and successes through an appropriate technology platform that we are currently experimenting with. Improving the delivery and management of municipal infrastructure is vital to improving service delivery in our municipalities. To date, we have received encouraging reports about improvement in service delivery. Increasing numbers of municipalities are improving their response times when faced with electricity outages, sewage spillages, and water stoppages, such as in Stellenbosch. The first step is to improve infrastructure planning. The Interministerial Task Team on Service Delivery, which is coordinated by COCTA, is overseeing a process of developing integrated infrastructure plans for 27 district municipalities with the largest backlogs of basic infrastructure. These plans will identify the infrastructure investments required to eradicate the backlogs. Through MISA, COCTA will continue to provide support to individual municipalities to develop better sector infrastructure plans covering the construction, maintenance, and operation of infrastructure, and better integrated development plans to ensure that sector plans are coordinated. For example, to ensure that water reticulation planning is coordinated with planning for new housing developments. COCTA will request the major industries operating in the area, including mining companies and Eskom, to assist with this support. Gauteng is an example of best practice where the active involvement of the province has led to the rollout of infrastructure delivery in previously troubled spots. The situation in Randfontein and Western area has improved, and the challenges of protests have been put under control, leading to the area of Bekkersdal in Western area local municipality no longer being considered an area of concern. The following infrastructure projects are being implemented in Western area: building of a school in Bekkersdal in partnership with a gold mine, cleaning and waste management projects through Pick It Up, upgrading of the sewer infrastructure also in Bekkersdal, and so on. The implementation of these plans and the delivery of infrastructure will be expedited through the continuous monitoring of municipal infrastructure expenditure, including both expenditure on the municipal infrastructure grant and expenditure of municipalities' own revenue on infrastructure. A total of 247 municipalities will benefit from the 2015-16 MIG allocation amounting to some 14.7 billion rands, from which over 3,000 projects have been or are in the process of being implemented by municipalities. In 2013, there was a significant improvement up to 91% of expenditure on MIG, up from 79% in 2012-13. Municipalities need to be congratulated for this improvement, which was also assisted by the application of reallocation provisions in the Division of Revenue Act. Over the past 3 municipal financial years, July 2011-12 to June 13-14, the number of municipalities achieving 100% expenditure on their MIG funding has increased from 110 to 130. The number of municipalities spending less than 51% of their allocation has decreased from 31 to 16. Definite signs of progress, although much more work to do. We will request municipalities to provide us with information on all of their substantial infrastructure projects, enabling us to identify bottlenecks at an early stage and intervene where necessary to ensure appropriate delivery. In the coming year, through MISA, COCTA will be working with the Chief Procurement Officer in the National Treasury to improve infrastructure procurement in municipalities. One aspect of this work will be to put in place a national transversal framework contract for certain goods and services related to municipal infrastructure. We intend to have initial contracts in place for electricity distribution equipment by the end of this financial year. The aim of these contracts will be to procure more smartly and achieve economies of scale, resulting in a reduced level of administrative burden, lower prices, and substantial savings for municipalities and obviously citizens in those municipalities. Individual municipalities will be able to place orders against the national contract without going through their own procurement processes. On good governance, we continue to identify and implement support and intervention packages for all priority municipalities experiencing governance distress. These packages take the form of invoking sections 154 and 139 of the Constitution. And I'm happy to report that we are witnessing many areas of improvement in this regard. Provinces have invoked Section 139 interventions in several municipalities across the country. There are 16 municipalities in 4 provinces that are or have been placed under Section 139 of the Constitution, and again, these are distributed in various parts of the country. Another example of our intervention is the Mogalakwena local municipality, resulting where political instability, which is caused by various factors, resulting in a litany of governance and administrative challenges, including the collapse of delivery of basic services. COCTA, working in collaboration with the MEC for Local Government in Limpopo, intervened to restore normality in the municipality. Normality has been restored in the administration of the municipality, and we will continue to monitor and support the municipal council to ensure that it gets back to full functionality. Apart from the aforementioned, I would like to mention that we continue to work with national and provincial departments to support other distressed municipalities, such as Oudtshoorn, Makana, Ngaka Modiri Molema, and Nelson Mandela Bay, amongst others. The department has also introduced a number of measures as a way of strengthening the fight against fraud and corruption in municipalities, in line with our back to basics approach. To date, we've brought together at a national level some 115 forensic or internal audit reports. 98 of them have been assessed by the department with the assistance of law enforcement agencies, the Office of State Attorney, and the National Treasury. The following actions are now being followed in respect of those that have been assessed. Some have been referred for asset forfeiture, others for disciplinary processes within the municipality, and yet others for civil claims and criminal prosecutions. The department will continue to work closely with law enforcement agencies to ensure that there are consequences for fraud and corruption within municipalities. Topical at this point in time has been the consumer debt owing to municipalities. We are all familiar with the numbers that some 98 billion rands is being owed to municipalities. This debt comprises 5.5 billion rands of money owed by national and provincial departments, 22 billion rands owed by businesses, and some 60 billion rands owed by households to municipalities. The arrear debt by national and provincial departments has accumulated over time, and as a result of disputes over municipal invoices or billing. COCTA, in collaboration with the Department of Public Works, has conducted an audit and verified contested invoices. This exercise has resulted in affected government departments paying a total amount of 1.5 billion rands to relevant municipalities between September last year and the 31st of December last year. In the second phase, we are dealing with all the remaining contested invoices. We believe that while the audit and verification exercise is still underway, extra measures must be introduced to expedite the payment of outstanding debt owing by government departments to municipalities. We also urge business, which is indebted to municipalities, to pursue the same approach whilst they contest a fraction of the bill that they might have been presented with. We will also be mounting a government-wide campaign in collaboration with our other government agencies and departments to cultivate a culture of civic responsibility and payment for services throughout all of our communities in our country. We call upon all honorable members of this House, regardless of their political persuasion, that they, on a non-partisan basis, they support this campaign. We cannot have a sustainable municipal system if we do not have our public cooperating with us by paying for the services that they actually utilize. We will reach out to all public representatives, public servants, and business leaders to heed this call. We have noted further with concern that some municipalities are still spending municipal resources on a non-priority basis or non-priority items. Recent media reports have indicated that expensive vehicles are still being bought for use by public office bearers in municipalities, whereas they only have a year to spend in office. This nonsense clearly has to stop. Enforcing of competency requirements is also something that we have worked hard on together with the National Treasury and others. MECs have to date made 5 applications for declaratory orders which are still pending in the courts to nullify the appointments of municipal managers in several municipalities. In several others, candidates who did not meet the minimum competency requirements are also being dealt with. These councils have been advised by the MECs that they are non-compliant. Our data shows, however, that in the case of municipal managers, 56% have already completed all 4 minimum competency requirements. We have a vacancy rate of 19%, and the remainder, 25%, are in progress to complete the 4th area of their requirements. At a CFO level, 61% have completed all 4 minimum competencies, and others are on their way to progressing. An important development over the next year is to strengthen districts and create shared service centers in districts. I indicated last year that districts have an important role to play and that we plan to strengthen their governance capabilities. We found in our back to basics assessments that the Pixley-Kaseme district municipality in the Northern Cape has put in place a shared services model to alleviate financial and human resource strain on local municipalities. Over the next year, in 3 district municipalities, we're going to replicate this as a pilot. In the John Khatsiwe municipality, the Ugu district municipality, and the Central Karoo municipality. I will pay my thanks and appreciation to the various people who've contributed to the good work of COCTA to date when I round up later. But let me mention in conclusion, Chairperson, that the Community Works Program is a crucial part of the responsibilities that this department has. Over the next year, we intend to increase the number of sites or municipalities by 30 that have Community Works programs that they will implement in their municipalities. My colleagues, the Deputy Ministers, will address issues of the Integrated Urban Development Framework, the various contributions that the private sector is making to development of municipalities, and also the various matters, in particular, the coronation of His Majesty King Skau tomorrow in the Eastern Cape. I will comment on this further as I round up later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next speaker is the Honourable Masondo.
Chairperson, Minister of COCTA, Pravin Gordhan, honorable members, traditional leaders, fellow citizens. Chairperson, the narrative of the budget is not only about the numbers. It is also a conversation about policy development and implementation. Chairperson, the concept of the budget on matters of local government prompts and remind one to think of operating budget, which covers such areas as salaries of employees, repayment of loans, and payment of other day-to-day running of a municipality, as well as capital budget, which reflects the council's future development proposals or priorities such as building dams, roads, and reticulation systems. In compiling a budget, the municipality may not budget for a year-end deficit on its operating account, must ensure that the budget is in accordance with both its 1-year or 5-yearly integrated development plan, IDP, must also compile capital programs that outline its overall investment plan. D.L. Clayton, in his Municipal Administration Handbook, 4th edition, provides a criteria that can assist to ensure critical strategic thinking when one considers a budget program, as opposed to the following questions. Why is this activity being undertaken? Why is it proposed? What is its objectives? Is this the only way of meeting the objective? What are the other ways of meeting the objective? How effective is it in meeting the objective, and at what cost, and how does it compare with other ways of meeting the objective? We may argue that compilation and the approval of a budget is not entirely a pure rational process. Many would indeed agree that the politicians, being the decision makers or principals, may prefer, in addition to the above mentioned, brokerage and negotiations and or lobbying. But all of this should happen within the context of good governance, transparency, and accountability. Chairperson, the Back to Basics program, amongst others, calls for a better management of financial resources allocated to local government. This is informed by the realization that mismanagement could lead to a situation where a municipality that is visible is made unviable. This, as residents get burdened with additional taxes and payments. Chairperson, all South Africans have a responsibility to defend the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa as adopted on the 8th of May 1996 and as amended in October of the same year. We defend the Constitution not only by what we say, but what we do. It is in this context that I wish to raise the question of the equitable share and its implications in improving the quality of life of all South Africans in general, the workers, and the poor in particular. Chapter 13 of our Constitution, under General Financial Matters, provides for a national revenue fund and equitable shares and allocation of revenue. The National Revenue Fund, into which all money received by national government must be paid, except money reasonably excluded by the Act of Parliament, provides all the resources that are made available through the fiscus for development and services to all South Africans. These funds from the national fiscus can only be withdrawn in terms of an appropriation act of parliament or as a direct charge to the National Revenue Fund. In addition, a province's equitable share of revenue raised nationally is a direct charge against the National Revenue Fund. Equitable share must take into account, amongst others, the national interest determined by national objective criteria, national debt, and other national obligations, and ensure that provinces and municipalities are able to provide basic services and form the functions allocated to them. Perhaps it is worth emphasizing that the purpose of equitable share is to enable municipalities to provide basic services to poor households and to enable those with limited resources to perform core municipal functions. Chairperson, we know that the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs work in current and coming periods will be characterized by the implementation of the Back to Basics program, which is designed to ensure, as the Portfolio Committee report aptly or fittingly observed, that all municipalities perform their basic responsibility and functions without compromise. The 5 pillars, briefly put, capture the following key points. People and their concerns, through constant contact, are the center of our focus. Everything should be done to create conditions for the delivery of quality services, cutting wastage and prudent spending of resources, transparency and accountability, sound financial management and accounting is critical, and engagement of dedicated and skilled personnel should be the norm. Chairperson, it does seem and appear that the recent withholding of equitable share from 59 municipalities initiated and implemented by the Treasury can only ensure the reverse of what the strategy of Back to Basics seeks to achieve. This is especially disturbing if one considers the fact that there has been a lack of a positive response from the Minister of Finance to a letter written by Sarga dated the 9th of March 2015. We should all be preoccupied with the question of seeking and achieving an amicable and sustainable solution. We should be seeking to promote cooperative governance. Section 41 of the Constitution speaks of government of the Republic as, quote, constituted as national, provincial, and local spheres of government, which are distinctive, interdependent, and interrelated. Close quote. Section 41(1), amongst others, refers to the principles of cooperative government and intergovernmental relations. Amongst others, raises the following: securing the well-being of people of the Republic, being loyal to the Constitution, the Republic and its people, not assuming any power or function except those conferred in terms of the Constitution, adhering to agreed procedure, and providing for appropriate mechanisms or procedure to facilitate settlement of intergovernmental disputes. Chairperson, the question of equitable share should not be made a conditional grant. It is too important a matter to be given such treatment. Chairperson, we hold the view that the local government should collect all the monies that is due to each municipality. But that, as we all know, is a result of many factors: unemployment, poverty, poor revenue base, poor revenue collection, insufficient skills, tariffs that do not cover the full cost of services, high interest and charges and penalties, aging infrastructure, etc. That all those who consume services should pay is a point that we should emphasize at almost all time. That only the indigent and those who are generally poor should be exempted and supported through the provision of free basic services. That debt collection should be pursued with vigor and passion, especially against the well-to-do individuals, corporates, and related institutions. We should all know that debt spiraling out of control can, if this is not addressed, do South Africa a great harm. Similarly, withholding equitable shares can be equally bad and harmful. Equitable share should be utilized going into the future as an instrument to empower local government to ensure meaningful development and delivery of basic services to local communities. This is especially important given the fact that local government in South Africa is not meant to be marginal or merely symbolic. The three spheres of government are provided for in the Constitution. They are meant to work together to enhance the quality of life of all citizens and residents. Beyond the formal institutions of government, ours is meant to be participatory democracy, not only a representative democracy where people are largely alienated and only cast a vote once in a five-year period. The national and provincial departments who owe municipalities should urgently commit to paying all the outstanding debts to municipalities. There must be a sense that all spheres of government are treated with a sense of justice and equity. Everything possible should be done to avoid a perception that some government departments and officials are a law unto themselves and can do as they please when interacting with communities. Finally, going forward, I would like to urge all the stakeholders to reflect and consider whether or not our budget can be crafted to ensure long-term sustainability of local government. This is not a movement away from an appreciation for the work that is being done to deliver a complex budget that takes into account competing priorities and ever-improving efficiencies to create space to free resources to address other critical needs. This includes the whole question of equitable share. Chairperson, we do support this budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Banga.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Firstly, Minister, the people of the Nelson Mandela are waiting for you to respond that we've asked you a question about the Deputy Mayor, Chipa Ngolomba, who have solicited millions of money from a sponsorship. And Chipa Ngolomba himself confirmed that he did not find the gift register for him to confirm or to declare. Is it normal in South Africa that in a municipality for a year and years you cannot find a gift register and declare, and that deputy mayor is still in office? Can you promise South Africans here and the people of the Nelson Mandela that, like Councillor Mafana, Chipa Ngolomba would not be with the people of Nelson Mandela as we speak on Friday, as we are going there with President Jacob Zuma? Will we have that as the people of the Nelson Mandela? Because these councillors continue to loot and steal from the money of our people and the service, and our city is going down. The recent xenophobic inspired violence in KwaZulu-Natal requires an unambiguous interrogation of the role of the traditional leaders in relation to the values of our Constitution, Minister. The Constitution states in the preamble that through our freely elected representatives, we adopt the Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic, so as to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. This begs the following questions: whether non-interference with traditional leadership is regarded as more important than the rights and values contained in our Constitution. Do traditional leaders understand that South Africa is a democratic state and not a monarchy? Do we understand that the Constitution entrusts the national executive authority only to the President and his cabinet, not the kings? The past few weeks have shown that the above is misunderstood by the institution of traditional leadership through King Goodwill Zwelithini. The king was recorded as stating that foreign nationals must pack their bags and leave the country. The audio tapes are available. The executive, who is supposed to promote our Constitution, flip-flopped in their response, and many ministers and the KZN Premier abdicated from the responsibility to hold the king to account for his utterances. Instead, they lined up to apologize to the king. Just a few weeks later, the KZN government convened an imbizo for the king, and once again he threatened the country by saying that if he can call for a war, South Africa will be in ashes. South Africa, we are balututu. He further dared to instruct that all indunas, chiefs, should monitor the documentation of foreign nationals. How is it possible for a king to have executive authority to monitor, implement government policy? Chapter 12 of the Constitution recognizes the institution status, the role of traditional leaders, according to customary law, but it is recognized subject to the Constitution. Furthermore, the Traditional Leadership and Governance Framework Act of 2003 and its regulation states that the institution of traditional leadership must be transformed to be in harmony with the Bill of Rights, and that it must promote freedom, human dignity, and the achievement of the equality and non-sexism, and promote nation building and peace. Honorable Minister, the cost to the taxpayer to fund our traditional leaders is spiraling out of control. In 2013, for example, 10 kings and 1 queen, 829 senior traditional leaders, 5,311 chiefs were paid an estimated 660 million only in salaries.
Honourable
This
Member,
figure
your time is now
excludes
expired.
the benefits and other subsidies. Thank you.
The next speaker is the Honourable Matloka.
Honorable Chairperson, we have always insisted that the ANC has run out of ideas to provide solutions to many of the problems South Africans are facing. The ANC government suffers from a poverty of ideas. The economic freedom fighters reject the COCTA budget vote. South Africa has been dubbed the protest capital of the world. In 2014 only, there were 3,000 protest actions in less than 90 days, involving more than 1 million people.
Order, honourable members.
In 2013, police arrested more than 14,000 protesters who were demanding access to basic services. Every day, South Africa has an average of 30 protests in various communities, and majority of them against local government. The design and nature of local government currently is not viable. The division of revenue is not assisting in the situation, because how do you explain that out of a trillion plus budget, local government receives less than 10%? This 10%, less than 10%, should cater for salaries of councillors and the rest of personnel in local government, and still to provide services. If there is no total overhaul of local government, the crisis that we currently see will continue. We need a decisive and radical configuration of local government in South Africa, which will deal with how local government is structured in South Africa. And this is how we should do it. We should reduce municipalities from the current 284 to a reasonable, manageable size. We must dissolve district municipalities. We must allocate 33% of the national budget to local government, with prioritization of rural and underdeveloped areas. No municipality should have less than 25 wards. How do you explain it when a municipality has got 4 wards, 4 ward councillors, 4 PR councillors? Over 1/3 of our municipalities are dysfunctional and incapacitated. This is an indication that the current funding structure needs to be reformulated. You will refuse to agree with me precisely because you have run out of ideas. The back to basic strategy is similar to many other strategies pronounced by previous ministers. You will remember Minister Sikelo, clean audit by 2014. We are still crying. Even today, there is no clean audit. And this is a clear admission from the minister that we must go back to basics, because for 15 years we have done nothing.
Honourable Member, your time is now expired.
Minister, unless there is a clear vision of radical configuration of municipalities on how they are
Honourable
funded,
Member.
South Africa will remain protest capital.
Your time
We
is
reject
expired.
this budget.
The next speaker is the Honourable Schlengwer.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister and the Deputy Ministers, I want to say at the outset that the IFP supports the budget vote, lest I do not find time to now actually deal with the issues that have been raised. It was to be dereliction of duty on my part, if I do not correct what has been said by the Honourable Bank, to come and attack the king in the fashion that you have, based on nothing else other than hearsay. You know, I think we've got a responsibility in this House to present facts to South Africans. And we must condemn xenophobia in the strongest possible terms and not to exacerbate in the manner that you have. The Minister of Police and the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal were present when the King spoke at Pongol. And both of them have said that the King at no point did he issue an instruction for people to be attacked in the manner that they have. Secondly, traditional leaders fully understand their role and function within the parameters of the Constitution in terms of chapters 7 and 12. So to come here in the fashion that you
Honourable
have,
members,
to
don't
come in
round
the
the
fashion
speaker.
that you have and attack and attack based on nothing else, but you want to glorify Queen Elizabeth in England and all the other monarchies is totally unacceptable. So because the King is not here to defend himself, as the subject that I think that I should to say, he condemns xenophobia, just like all of us in this House condemn xenophobia. Traditional leaders condemn xenophobia like we should. None of these attacks took place in jurisdictions where traditional leaders reside. None of them, they took place in the cities. Why should they be blamed for it? Just because they're not here to defend themselves, then you ride on the crest that you are here to do so. That is very, very long. Then you come to elections and you want to masquerade them like King Dalindyebo and say that they have joined you. They're only good for elections, but when it comes to dealing with their issues, you are totally adverse to that. Honourable Minister, I want to say that your Back to Basics program is an island of hope in a sea of chaos. And it is important that we implement it because the audit findings of the Auditor General have consistently pointed out that auditees had findings on compliance and regulations, many of which related to supply chain management, irregular and wasteful expenditure, mainly due to a lack of basic controls and a lack of consequences for poor performance and transgressions. So as municipalities continue to find themselves one way or the other collapsing, it is important that we put in place measures that are going to actually, in fact, ensure that they don't do that. Because if local government fails, then it's the people that suffer. If local government works, South Africa works, because all development, as far as we are concerned, is local. And I'm not a Zulu nationalist. I take strong exception to that, Honourable Milham. Strong exception to that. We are sick and tired of being attacked by you on the basis of race and ethnicity. And when you throw that back at you, you cry foul play. Why should we allow ourselves to be bullied by the DA at every single turn? Why must we do that? Why must we do that? So don't at any point attack me as a Zulu national. I'm first and foremost a South African, and a South African who happens to be a Zulu, but respect all ethnicities. If you want to transcend South Africa to ethnic politics, that's your own baby to feed, but don't drag all of us into that. I want to say, Honourable Minister, the issue that you have raised, I wanted to touch on it, that it is totally unacceptable that government departments, particularly health, public works and basic education are owing so much money in terms of rates and taxes to municipalities. Because I think that on its own sets up local government for failure when their counterparts in government, which is government departments, are not paying. So it is incumbent on all of us to ensure that people do exactly what it is that they're supposed to do. And one would imagine that the point of departure will be back to basics. We can't be pessimistic about it because we've got a duty and responsibility to ensure that local government, as a sphere of this government, actually works, performs, and succeeds for the sake of the many South Africans on a daily basis are suffering and are faced with poverty as a reality. And they need those basic services and service delivery to be part and parcel of their lives. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member.
Honourable Chairperson.
Yes, Honourable Member, why are you rising?
Honourable Chair, I rise on a point of order. From my speaker, the Honourable Hlengwa, I understand that a member of the DA called him a Zulu nationalist. And I would like him to withdraw. I would like you to ask him to withdraw that particular saying. Thank you.
Order, Honourable Members. Honourable Member, who made the remark to the Honourable Hlengwa? Honourable Milam? Order, Honourable Members.
Chairperson, I made no remark to Honourable Hlengwa.
The Honourable Member is indicating that he did not make the remark to the Honourable Hlengwa. Honourable Hlengwa?
Honourable Chairperson, may I address you?
Yes.
The Honourable Milham did call me a Zulu nationalist. I was standing right there. But if he's not man enough to man up, I would accept that it's part and parcel of his discourse. But he did label me as a Zulu nationalist, and I still take strong exception to that because I respect him as a colleague, not expect him to address me.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Milam?
Chairperson, if Honourable Hlengwa is offended, I'm most sorry, but I did not address him as a Zulu nationalist.
Just withdraw
I'm sorry.
Just withdraw the remark,
I withdraw.
please. Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Member.
But I did not address him as a Zulu nationalist.
Thank you. Take your seat. The next speaker is the Honourable Kubisa.
Honourable Chairperson, honourable members, it's one of the sad days in this House. We are really appalled and flabbergasted what the Honourable Mbanga has said about His Majesty the King. And we find this to be an insult, not only to His Majesty the King, but also to Amakhosi themselves. We never thought that a member would come and bash His Majesty the King and play it and make it a play ball on the issue of xenophobia. It's a very serious matter, critical matter, and it affects all of us. Just because you find this platform, you come here and you parade as if we are coming with a different philosophy altogether. We find it really ludicrous and it's disgusting. I'm sure at some point in time you'll find some time to apologize because we're dealing with a very sensitive matter. We didn't want to talk about this, but really you have provoked all of us. You have spoken very badly of His Majesty the King. One hopes that at some point in time you'll find some time. You are speaking about the issues that you don't, it seems to me, you are ignorant about these issues. And the adage says, where ignorance is bliss, it is folly to be wise. Really, it's an insult. In fact, to everybody in this country. Because everybody has come out to say we condemn xenophobia. And to misrepresent His Majesty the King. I don't know what you are doing.
On a point of
Honourable
order.
Kubisa.
Why are you misrepresenting His
Order,
Majesty?
Honourable Members.
Naba,
Order, Honourable Members. Order.
Chairperson, on a point of order.
Take your seats. I'm recognizing the Honourable Banga.
May I ask
Honourable Members. Honourable Members. Honourable Members. Why are you rising, Honourable Member?
may I ask a question whether the king is above the constitution of this country?
No,
The
Honourable
Republic.
Member.
And he's not.
Order.
The king.
Order,
the king
Honourable
is
Banga.
not above the constitution.
Honourable
of the
Banga.
Republic. Not.
Honourable Banga. Honourable Banga.
You are still perpetuating your
Honourable
ignorance
Kubisa.
about matters affecting
Honourable
Chairperson, on
Kubisa.
a point of order.
Now, before I take your point of order, Honourable Banga, when you rise, you first ask if the Honourable Member will take a question. You don't simply get up and you ask the question anyway. So you're out of order as far as that is concerned. Why are you rising, Honourable Member?
Chairperson Frolick, I'm rising on a point of order because firstly, the member at the podium is addressing one of my members directly, and the members have to be addressed through you, Chairperson, not so what, that's the rules of
Order,
this House.
honourable members.
Secondly, Chairperson,
Order, honourable members.
a personal attack is being taken place from the member of the podium as to one of my members, and that is not allowed according to the rules of this House, and the member may not attack one of my members for being in his constitutional right.
Order, honourable
underprivileged
members.
to
Honourable
deliver
member,
a
you've
budget
made your
speech.
point. Honourable Kubisa, will you continue with your speech, please? Honourable members, I'm not going to take any further point of order on this. It's part of a debate that is happening. There were certain things that were mentioned, and different speakers are responding in different ways to it. We are, however, dealing with the budget vote of the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Right? Let us not get deflected and start moving into another debate that will be best left for another day. Continue, Honourable Kubisa.
Honourable Chair, let me say the NFP supports this budget because we want our people to be served. And we understand, Minister, that you have taken your back to basic program with passion. But the NFP, of course, is worried about the knee-jerk approach with some of the municipalities and show the poor services that our municipalities are engaged in, and they are not using the government's fiscals correctly. Those are the issues that have to be attended to. I think, Honourable Minister, having said that, we understand that our people need water, they need services, they need roads, and you can see the apathy, you can see the despair that they displayed. But having said that, in spite of that apathy and despair, it's not good to destroy the property that we have. The property that we have must be maintained, it must be there, and we need to instill some values of responsibility and shy away from the culture of entitlement that is affecting most of our people. I repeat, our people need water, they need electricity, they need roads and houses, and all the services that they need. Having said that, Honourable Minister, the question of expanding the role of and functions of traditional leaders is still an outstanding matter which needs to be dealt with. The department still has to see to it that the role played by traditional in municipalities is tangible and it is also visible. Traditional leaders need to be capacitated to be able to participate fully in the development of their communities. In addition, the NFP believes that an increase of the allowances and affording them the necessary fringe benefits is important. In conclusion, the NFP welcomes and supports this budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we now call upon the Deputy Minister responsible for provincial and local affairs?
Chairperson, Minister and Deputy Minister of COGTA, Ministers, Deputy Ministers, Honourable Members, ladies and gentlemen. I pay tribute to Mayor Ruth Mompati, Isitwalandwe Siaparankwe, a freedom fighter, a leader who served with humility and commitment wherever she was called, be it to the world stage as an ambassador or as the mayor of Naledi local municipality. It's a tribute to her leadership that the Naledi local municipality, which she led as mayor from 2000 to 2010, was one of the 12 municipalities in Bokoni-Bophirima province that received unqualified, improved, or consistent audit outcomes for 2013-14. Those results are achieved through strong political oversight, consistent monitoring by councils, improved performance management, functioning internal audit and audit committees, as well as sound administration and leadership. Northwest was the first province in which a joint national provincial Back to Basics team was established. Chairperson, the Community Work Programme provides an employment safety net for the poorest of the poor. It provides a basic level of income security through work. It helps address poverty and unemployment, while other government programs create decent work, especially amongst women and young people. The Community Works Programme supplements government social grants program by putting 1.4 billion rand into the pockets and on the tables of more than 200,000 participants. What makes the CWP different is that it's also a community program. People in the area help to decide on the kind of work needed. This could be looking after orphans and vulnerable children, helping sick people, assisting teachers at school, looking after children while their parents are at work, and working with the local police to improve safety and reduce crime. We are committed and on track to establish at least one CWP site in every municipality, or every local and metropolitan municipality by the end of 2016-17. In 2013-14, there were 148 CWP sites in 140 municipalities. By the end of 2014-15, we had added an additional 37 sites in 19 municipalities. There are now 185 sites in 159 municipalities, covering 2,302 wards. This financial year, we will establish sites in a further 30 municipalities, bringing the total number of CWP sites to 220. Over the next 5 years of this administration, CWP will put 5.6 billion rand into the pockets of the poorest of the poor. In the past financial year, 43,634 CWP participants benefited from training opportunities offered by the program. This has helped skilled participants to start their own sustainable income-generating initiatives. Chairperson, COGTA participates actively in the War Room on Energy, chaired by Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. We're tackling the difficult and complex issue of debt owed by municipalities to Eskom and water boards. We've met with the top 20 owing municipalities, SALGA, National Treasury, Eskom. The meeting agreed on a clear action plan for the next 6 months. National Treasury will continue working with municipalities that are persistently defaulting on payments to Eskom and water boards to ensure that they implement the necessary financial recovery plans. We will also work with Eskom, NERSA, National Treasury, and SALGA, amongst others, review the requirement that municipalities pay within a 15-day period, rather than what is required in terms of Section 65 of the Municipal Finance Management Act. This results in municipalities being charged unnecessary interest. Secondly, to review the penalties being imposed on municipalities for exceeding their reserve capacity, and also establishing an integrated tariff regulatory body that looks at a basket of municipal services holistically. We will also take decisive action to ensure that national and provincial spheres of government settle their debts to municipalities, including consideration of withholding equitable shares. We're saying pay first, argue later. These matters are complex and difficult, but the bottom line is that owing Peter to pay Paul is simply not sustainable. Chairperson, we are deeply concerned about reports of deliberate damage to local government infrastructure, especially water infrastructure, to achieve political goals or economic gain. The loss of income, disruption of essential services, diversion of scarce resources, as well as social instability, often outweigh the value of the material stolen. A working group formed by the Deputy Ministers of COGTA, Police, State Security, Justice and Public Enterprises has recommended measures to the PICC to tighten legislation, strengthen coordination amongst law enforcement agencies and the private sector. It's recommended that existing legislation be tightened by firstly amending the Criminal Law Amendment Act to provide for minimum sentences of between 15 and 25 years in cases where the theft of non-ferrous metals has caused serious interference with or disruption of an essential service rendered for the benefit of the public, serious damage to an infrastructure facility or system, whether publicly or privately owned. Secondly, amending the Criminal Procedure Act to make it more difficult to obtain bail in cases involving the unlawful possession or illicit dealing in non-ferrous metals. Thirdly, to amend the Second-Hand Goods Act to further tighten the regulation of scrap metal dealers. We need to build a civic morality that respects public infrastructure and demands its defense. We call upon all South Africans to say, asifuni izinyoka, uma izinyoka zichoncha izinto zabantu sizozibopha. Chairperson, sadly, 20 years into democracy, South Africa's cities continue to reflect the spatial legacy of apartheid. The architect-in-chief of apartheid, Hendrik Verwoerd, must be rejoicing that some of his designs not only remain intact, but are being celebrated as triumphs of the human intellect by Izimbongi of illiberalism. The poet Habiba Badaroon writes that, and I quote, "Geography is history. Living in Cape Town means you travel through the past all the time. Geography is learning how to step gently on the past and walking from the present into history and back with each footstep. This oscillation between temporalities makes me think back and forth of the back and forth relationship I have with Cape Town. It contains all the things that make me angry, almost as much as my heritage, and the things that I adore. When I shop there, I get cross about the magazines in the queue leading to the tills. They almost always present a line of white faces. Last week, I felt guilty when an American friend said that she had landed in Cape Town and didn't know if she was in Africa. There were so few black faces. I felt guilty because the city looked to her like those lines of magazines I get cross about, displayed at checkouts. The draft integrated development framework seeks to deal with these challenges in a rapidly urbanizing society while recognizing the inextricable links between urban and rural development. The IUDF marks a new deal for South African cities and towns. It sets out a policy framework to guide the development of inclusive, resilient, and livable urban settlements. It is based on the goals of access, growth, governance, and spatial transformation. It is undergoing an extensive process of consultation. We expect the final draft to be completed by November of 2015. We thank the Deputy Ministers in the IUDF Political Oversight Committee for their continued guidance and wisdom. We also thank our partners in academia and the private sector, as well as the South African Cities Network, SALGA, our international partners, GIZ, and the European Union Dialogue Facility. But spatial transformation and rapid urbanization cannot wait for policies to be completed. The late Gil Scott Heron said that the revolution will not be televised, it will be live. Urbanization is very live, it will not be televised. Therefore, even as we're finalizing the Integrated Urban Development Framework, the 2015-16 budget already starts to realign public spending to support the spatial restructuring of our urban areas. Chairperson, in the 1 second that remains, to say that the process of preparing for the local government elections is on track. There is an interministerial committee chaired by the Minister of COGTA. The demarcation board is at an advanced stage of demarcating wards. They will be handing that over to the IEC to complete the process of allocating voting districts. We call upon all parties who will soon be choosing candidates for the local government election to bear to remember the late Ruth Mompati as they do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We call upon Honorable Mtau.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, receive my greetings. Demasiar. Honorable Klengwa, Honorable Kubiso, tse tlwaetse le skela makala. Di tshwana le nako e le henne na le ntwa. Mo ara rona ANC le IFP. Batho ba bang ka mo ba ile ba tsa meshidi ba etsa fatlhego relwe. Re ka selwe. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chair, let's start by saying nne ngwana wa Bochipoke nga masiare a namusi nga fasi ha dzangano le vhusaho la African National Congress re hanana na xenophobia re a ri funi re tutuwedza vhathu vhoṱhe uri vha funane ngauri mudzimu o ri vhumbaho ndi muthihi. Chair, I stand here shortly after the people of South Africa, the Africans, the Africa continent, and the whole world receive shocking and sad news passing away of the icon, our struggle, Stalangwe Meruth Mumpadi. Mumpadi was a revolutionary who made an invaluable contribution to the struggle for freedom and liberation in our country. She remained focused on this struggle of our oppressed mass of our people until she ceased to exist in this material world. Honorable Chair, I understand the Rule 47 of the National Assembly on page 17. President umbela uri songo vana muthu na muthihi hafha noni Chair ane a ḓo ima o humbela zwa uri u khou nyanga u mbudzisa mbudziso. Ndi ḓo humbela zwa uri vha ḓo mbudzisa mbudziso musi ndo no fhedza kana kha E56 onda dzula hone kana nda shuma hone. If she was alive, Mme Mumpadi will challenge us, representative of our people, to ensure that the budget we are debating responds to the material needs of the most vulnerable in society. Now I'm disappointed, Chair, when I hear a member of EFF in this house reject the budget. They are like wolves in the sheepskin. Vatla mo ba apere diaparo Chair tse khibidu ka mo a re ba apere di-brigandine ba re bona ba tlo representa batho mara fela ba tla mo ba hana budget ha ke itse ba re ba representa batho ka go yang ka bana budget ya ba dumelang le yona. Chair, Mme Mumpadi nka ba le teng nna tlo re she will be the first one to remind us of the unfinished business of eradicating the legacy of the system of apartheid colonialism, especially the stubborn remains of the pattern of apartheid spatial planning. Apartheid spatial planning, honorable members, you will remember that the apartheid regime introduced a framework for central spatial planning.
Honorable Chair.
Order.
Point of order.
Just hold on, Honorable Mdau. Can you take a seat? What's the point of order?
That Honorable Mdau must take time. He must not rush his issues.
Thank you. Sit down. Can you proceed, Honorable Mdau?
Ndi ngazwo ndo amba zwa uri athi nyagi muthu a tshi ima ima musi ndi tshi khou amba ngauri ndi zwone khou amba zwone. Honorable members, we will remember that the apartheid regime introduced a framework for centralization spatial planning for a spatial segregation, which was enforced through Group Areas Acts and other mechanisms that were aimed to preventing the influential white municipalities from bearing the financial burden of the service, the area of disadvantaged African, colored Indians and colored and Indian communities. Bahai tshotsetso tsotlhe tse di bonalang di ke a Group Aerial Act o di bona mo Western Cape. Batho ba ntshitswe ko Kensington le Freekington ba bewa mo Khayelitsha, Nyanda, Milnerberg le Gugulethu ba se ba tlhokomela ka jeno ba nyaka go blame ANC wa utlwa ka mokgwa bolelang ka teng. Apartheid planning left deep scars of the spatial structures of our cities, towns and rural areas and lives of millions of individuals and houses. This group's act or apartheid planning is like what the EF are doing now. But some of them tomorrow more chance to look some thing. Or about to ba votela, can't baba corrupt. Recopola was cattle by Rabial. Taba makatang Taba yona makatang Hota matata area bonang Wabona sintle fela ka malobeng ha puso ha mokhatlo wa DA o tshwere conference o ile wa khetha motho o montsho ra betelle pele o etsetsa hore ba rent the ground ba mo ira window dresser ke sona se se etsang hore ka jeno ba tla ba tswele pele ka go busa batho ba rona. And the new government inherited towns and cities that were produced of the apartheid master planning, which was fragmented and differentiated along racial lines. From the outset, the new government emphasized the strategic Spanish planning that focused on the macro level spatial structuring. The spatial framework became elements of integrated development plans and guide planning of the municipalities. Initial spatial framework did not sufficient talk to the spatial dynamics in cities, town and rural spaces. In fact, they were poorly linked with the infrastructure development and did not link with the land issues. Bahaitsu, rona le ANC, re a tseba re etsang. Le Bible le boletse moruting ka ba le teng ka mo ke bua ka Rre Honorable Maiman. Nna tlo ya malenna mo Luka 14 verse 28. Ere ha ya amba ere motse o saiwang ke ba ntlo e saiwang ke moahi baahi ba yona ba itshwenya fela e tlo wa ntlo ke bua ka e sha ina bari shilonda shi baba munhu lo a xin'wa ya batho ba banga bana pelaelo le pelaelo ka dilo tse di etsahala mo ntlo e sa wang ke motho ke bua ka EFF e sa wang ke ba iba net ya ile ke ba tlhankana le bashimanyana batho ba ba e supporta ba itshwenya fela ka e supporta ntlo because your
time has expired.
The ANC support this budget vote because it seems advance spatial transformation and improve the quality of our South Africans. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we now call upon Honorable Groenewald?
Agbare voorsitter, ek wil net vir die vorige spreker sê, apartheid is al 21 jaar gelede verby. Maar dit is 'n apartheid wat die ANC die kultuur van wanbetaling van dienstegelde gekweek het. Maar sedert 21 jaar gelede het die ANC nog niks gedoen om daardie wanbetalingskultuur te beëindig nie. Agbare minister, ek wil terugkom na die debat oor plaaslike regering. Jaar na jaar moet ons in hierdie begrotingspos hierso kom luister dat die minister sê hy is bekommerd. Die agbare adjunkminister sê hy is diep bekommerd. Hulle het uitdagings wat nagekom moet word. Die agbare minister kom vanmiddag hierso en hy sê dat slegs 56% van munisipale bestuurders is gekwalifiseer. Slegs 61% van finansiële bestuurders is behoorlik gekwalifiseer. En dan wil ek vir u vra, is ons dan verbaas dat ons by die chaos sit op plaaslike regeringsvlak? 98 miljard rand uitstaande dienstegelde? Die staatsdepartemente wat nie eers hulle rekenings betaal nie. Agbare minister, u was 'n vorige minister van Finansies. Hoe is dit moontlik dat 'n staatsdepartement nie sy rekening kan betaal nie? Dis mos 'n finansiële jaar. En as hy weet hy's agterstallig, moet hy dit mos betaal. Hoekom moet dit elke keer oorgedra word? En dit is waar die probleem is. As ek nou Noordwes vat as 'n provinsie, vir die afgelope 4-5 jaar is daar feitelik geen munisipaliteit wat 'n skoon audit het nie. Maar dan kom die regering en hy kondig aan dat hy hierdie projek van skoon audits en daardie projek en dan stel hy administrateurs aan en dan wil ek vir julle sê van die administrateurs wat hy aanstel is eintlik nog meer korrup as die ander amptenare wat daar was. U los nie die probleem op nie. U wil nou die probleem probeer oplos deur munisipaliteite saam te voeg. Want u versoek die herafbakeningsraad om sekere munisipaliteite se grense te verander en om wyke by te voeg. Want die argument wat u gebruik is om te sê, daardie munisipaliteite wat swak finansiële ondersteuning het, kan dan baat by die ander munisipaliteit wat 'n sterk finansiële basis het. Agbare minister, u mislei u self. Dis nie dat hulle 'n swak finansiële basis het nie, dis swak finansiële bestuur. Dis onbevoegdheid. Ek sien die agbare adjunkminister skud sy kop. Hy moet saam met my kom in Noordwes. Ek sal hom vat na daai amptenare toe wat onbevoeg is. Want dit lyk vir my hulle weet nie wat aangaan nie, as hy sy kop so skud. En dit bekommer my, agbare minister, dat u lyk my weet nie wat is die probleem nie. En daarom sê die Vryheidsfront Plus vir u, as u wil beginne plaaslike regering regryk, die eerste ding wat u moet doen, is om die onbevoegde amptenare onmiddellik van ontslae te raak. Maar soos in onmiddellik. En dan moet u nie verdere kaderontplooiing gaan doen, om ander lede in daardie onbevoegde poste te gaan sit nie. Want dit gaan nie werk nie. Die tweede ding wat u sal moet doen, is om te verseker dat dienstegelde betaal word. As ons nou net kyk wat gebeur in Soweto, nou wil hulle nie betaal nie, want hulle sê daar was beloftes gemaak, in 94. Die belofte, as jy geluister het in die nuus vanoggend, dan sou jy gehoor het, die mense van Soweto sê, die ANC het 'n belofte gemaak, dat krag verniet sal wees, as hulle wen. Dis weer eens 'n geval van u maak politieke beloftes, wat u weet, u nie kan nakom nie. En dit is die gevolg van die chaos op plaaslike regeringsvlak. En die belastingbetaler betaal daardie prys, en u as 'n minister moet op om hiernatoe te kom en sê, u is bekommerd, u moet iets beginne doen. Ek dank u.
Thank you very much. Can you now call Honorable Carter?
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister Gordhan, many would agree with me in stating that you have been one of a few ministers respected by many opposition parties, even if we differed sharply on matters of policy and fiscal and economic direction. It was sad to see you having to respond to aspersions cast against your integrity and your record of good public service in relation to the current SARS war that's been on. Minister, in breaking your silence on this matter, you said, and I quote, "I have not spoken in the public domain until now out of regard for the incumbents and in the belief that good sense will prevail and alleged disputes, among others, will be resolved constructively." Now, Minister, local government has faced various interventions, including Project Consolidate, the local government turnaround strategy, and now we've got back to basics. How many more times will we hear of a need for an improvement in governance, greater public participation, sound financial management, or the need to build capable institutions and administration? It's a shocking indictment that there is a need to call for municipalities to provide the most basic of services and ensure our towns are clean, to ensure that meetings of the councils are convened, to ensure that budgets are realistic and based on cash available, and then also to ensure that the top 6 posts in a municipal administration are filled by competent and qualified persons. All of these requirements are fundamental requirements in law. The same remedies are proffered from intervention to intervention, sadly. It is nothing more than applying expensive government band-aid to a deep-seated problem. In 2014, protests in South Africa reached an all-time high of 218. Worryingly, 80% of these protests involve violence by participants or by authorities. What is required is the acknowledgement of a root cause of a rot. Minister, I would have hoped that you would have used the opportunity today to have said, "I have not spoken in the public domain until now, out of regard for the fact that I am a loyal cadre and in the belief that good sense would have prevailed. I can no longer keep quiet. The root cause of a continual failing of local government is to be found in incompetent, self-serving political leadership at all levels that have caused untold damage to the cause of good local governance, and rampant corruption and the capture of municipalities by powerful local and regional ANC elites. For a country the size of ours to have 8,434 councillors is like having an army to deal with service delivery problems. This army is in a rapid retreat. It is big in size and just as big in failure. Quantity is not a substitute for quality. It is imperative to halve a number of councillors. A new formula must allow proportionality inside a ward system, not parallel to it as it is at present. The panicky ruling party, sensing the punishment in 2016, is now planning to plough 4 billion rand into the housing in Nelson Mandela Bay. And to Honourable Mudau, why is this not happening in all the other cities? We need local spheres of economic growth, Honourable Minister. Will you support a bill for the establishment of local corporations. Honourable Minister, it is your integrity and your public service record that is on the line. I'm asking you, the reality is that no intervention in trying to save what is left of our local government sphere will succeed. The only solution, Honourable Minister, does not lie with me and it does not lie with you. Honourable Minister, it lies with the electorate. I thank you.
Thank you very much. We call upon Honorable Gallo.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me first and foremost, on behalf of the African Independent Congress, thank the people of Mtuba in KwaZulu-Natal for the support they have demonstrated for the AIC. This is a clear indication that the AIC is growing in this country. The AIC reluctantly supports the budget vote number 4 for cooperative governance and traditional affairs. Reluctantly because the AIC is concerned about the web of corruption, not only in local government, but in the state as a whole. But it is worse in our local municipalities, where you will find ANC councillors fighting over the spoils, while service delivery is not taking place in our poor communities. The fact that the people of Ward 2 and Ward 12 at Mtuba have no water after 21 years of democracy is a cause for concern. Honorable Chair, the AIC does not support the steps taken by the National Treasury of withholding the equitable share to 60 municipalities, because this move by the National Treasury will negatively affect service delivery in those municipalities. What the National Treasury should have done, Honorable Chair, in our view, it should have withheld the salaries of the councillors, municipal managers, and chief financial officers in those municipalities, because they are the main culprits in this regard. Another area of concern in the AIC, Honorable Minister, is about the district municipalities, Honorable Minister. In your aggregated revenue and expenditure for municipalities in the second quarter 2014-15, district municipalities received from revenue 23.0% of the main appropriation and spent 22.1%. These municipalities, Honorable Minister, are sharing the same jurisdiction with the local municipalities, which means there is a duplication of some services by the said municipalities. This anomaly needs to be corrected in order to save taxpayers' money. In conclusion, Honorable Minister, in your Back to Basics strategy or program, please don't forget to phase out the district municipalities. They are of no assistance. They are just for get-rich-quick project offices for certain individuals in the ANC. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we now call upon the Deputy Minister responsible for Traditional Affairs?
Thank you, Chairperson, Minister of Cooperative Pravin Gordhan, Deputy Minister Cooperative Andres Nel, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, members of the Portfolio Committee of Cooperative, MECs for Cooperative and Cooperative in the provinces, executive mayors and councillors, leadership of the House of Traditional Leaders, the CLR Commission leadership here, ladies and gentlemen, fellow South Africans. We present our second budget vote speech on the 5th administration at the time when we will be celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Freedom Charter as was adopted on the 26th of June, 1955.
It is important to highlight that in 2003, the democratic government brought in measures specifically meant to effect the provision of Chapter 12 of the Constitution through the passing of the Traditional Leadership Governance and Framework Act to give effect to what the Freedom Charter says, the people shall govern. The legislation outlines the roles and functions of traditional leaders in a democratic dispensation and how government will interact with the traditional leaders in building a united South Africa. As noted from the minister's speech, we are committed to the finalization of traditional and quiescent leadership governance framework amendment bill to give effect to the important milestone in the history of our democracy, which will recognize and affirm the quiescent leadership structures and communities. You spoke as the quiescent leadership, and we listened as government, and without doubt, we pride ourselves that we'll pass this legislation, which will give hope to you as a community. Also, the bill, once enacted, will close gaps in the current legislation and strengthen the developmental role that the institution plays in traditional communities. We are making progress towards addressing issues of fatalities resulting from initiation cultural practice. Last year in this House, we indicated that we will be finalizing the policy on initiation, and as the Minister said, I'm also pleased that the Cabinet has approved and we will indeed be releasing policy for public comments and will be guided by that particular policy to ensure that we save lives. Furthermore, the Ministry Initiative Intervention Program that is driven by the National House of Traditional Leaderships and the Department of Traditional Affairs has been effective. As you may be aware, many deaths were experienced in the Eastern Cape than any other province, and through this program, we saw a reduction in initiation deaths. In this financial year, we'll embark on a similar program as we did last year to monitor initiation schools and to achieve zero deaths and facilities. We call upon traditional leaders across South Africa to work with us in this regard. We further commend and recognize the good work that traditional leaders are doing to advance socio-economic development in their own communities. There are those traditional leaders who use land to advance economic development within their own communities. There are various best practices across the country, and we'll highlight a few examples. The Royal Bafokeng. The Bafokeng Nation owns 2,000 square kilometers of land that is under laden, with the second largest known platinum deposit in the world. Royal Bafokeng had developed 2020 vision with the aim of enabling it to be a self-sufficient community and will be producing 15,000 entrepreneurs, amongst others. Royal Bafokeng Traditional Council give Bafokeng children bursaries for tertiary education schools. They've built a school called Lebona High School, where even leaders from Africa, traditional leaders from Africa, are now bringing their children to Northwest to come and study. Mbangisweni Traditional Council, under the leadership of progressive traditional leader Inkosi Zondo, is highly engaged in agricultural produce and stock farming projects, which has created employment for local communities, with a vegetable project employing 80 members of the traditional community, the majority of which are women and youth earning 2,000 rands a month. The citrus fruit project with 22 small-scale farmers employing women and youth. That is the good work that traditional leaders are doing. I also commend the work of the Zumeri Traditional Council under Jose Zumeri in Limpopo, which has awarded 50 wheelchairs to needy men, women, and children, and committed to increase them to 100 in this year, in the next year. Morana Paulus Muloi of Makologwe community in the Free State for the building of a community center, bakery, and agricultural projects. I also give praises to Hosi Pilani and the Bakhatla Bakhafela Traditional Council for the big development projects that they are running within their own communities. These projects have created employment for youth, women, and other members of these communities. I applaud them for their commitment to serve and bring change to these communities by also developing bulk services such as sewer, electrification, using mining process to develop and improve service delivery, working with the municipalities. We call upon traditional leaders to join hands with government in addressing the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequalities within their communities. Traditional leaders, as custodians of land and most
in most of our rurals can address these challenges by making land available for utilization by the community as per the applicable legislation. Please don't sell the land. You can rather lease the land once you have acquired it. Ensure, therefore, that development takes place. Ensure that the said land is utilized effectively and support is obtained from the relevant government institutions. Together with government, developing cultural tourism within their own areas. In this regard, all heritage sites within their own communities. Also applaud business and others for partnering with regional leaders and their communities to bring better life, though it is not yet realized in other areas such as Vembe, Lipalele, and Skukwini, which are emerging platinum belts. We hope, therefore, that the lessons in Bakafela and Bafokeng will then replicate themselves in those areas. The program of action emanating from the President's speech when he was addressing the National House of Traditional Leaders will go a long way in addressing poverty and joblessness in traditional communities. President Jacob Zuma has called on traditional leaders to organize themselves and work together to claim land that was taken from their forefathers. The President said that land was a very important aspect of economic growth and that the people of South Africa are nothing without it. The importance of utilizing land, therefore, after claiming it, is going to be very, very key and very important. What the debate should be is what do we do after claiming the land so that we could then indeed use it productively. We recognize the role that the institution of traditional leadership and interfaith play in the building of the social cohesion in our country. We applaud all our traditional leaders for providing leadership in the past months when there were attacks on foreign nationals and ensuring that no incident has happened in all those traditional communities. And I really want to support what Honorable Hlengwa said, that not a single incident was recorded. And therefore, that shows that leadership of the traditional leaders is here and they are giving it, including King Zwelithini. So I do not know then when the other people are so decide that they will then comment in the manner in which they did. Traditional leaders, you have heard with your ears that the DA, what it says about you. You are the people that you have heard. They have not apologized, they have not withdrawn, so be the judges. We made major strides in restoring the dignity for traditional leaders and ensuring that there is stability within traditional communities. To this end, 844 of the traditional leadership disputes and claims from the Nhlapo commissions, which are handled currently by the current commission, have been finalized. In this financial year, we will finalize the outstanding 400 disputes and claims, and royal families are asked to resolve their succession disputes amicably within the family without taking each other to courts. There are 829 traditional councils with 11 kings and then 7 provincial houses and about 8,000 headmen and women. Yes, government pays them. In Europe, the government of UK, the government of Spain, the government of Netherlands looks after their institutions of monarchy. What's wrong with South Africa doing that? I don't know. I don't know what the DA wants to imply and what they want to do. Traditional leadership has a role to play in the extension of democracy and accountability to our traditional communities. It is therefore of critical importance for municipalities to make appropriate space for traditional leaders in matters of governance that affect them and work together in ensuring that back to basics is realized and that we are able to work together. I urge traditional leaders also to promote Ubuntu and lead in the moral generation so that they could then begin to foster the issues of culture and ensure, therefore, that our language is protected and we are able to retain our national identity. I therefore want to say, as the Minister of Culture, that we will work with you to ensure that indeed we achieve all the goals. And in that, we say to salute Umpendulo Sitau and say, Zwelonke, as we get coronation tomorrow, which is taking place. And in conclusion, the ministry is committed to restoring the dignity and integrity of the institution of traditional leaders. I would like to thank my family, the staff in my office, the Cooperative family as a whole, for their continued support. And let's join all South Africans and the ANC in paying tribute to Ma'am Ruth Mompati. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Ya lebo. Ke nako ya Mhlomphehi Matsipe.
Chairperson, The South African Local Government Association, SALGA, is meant to serve as the representative voice of all the 278 municipalities in the country. The main cost driver over the medium term is compensation of employees, which is expected to grow to 311.1 million in 2017-2018 financial year. One of the biggest recipients in this regard is SALGA CEO, Kolilo George, who receives an amount of 2.8 million plus bonuses as well as allowances annually. This is more than what the president receives. While Mr. George has done much to clean up the internal affairs of SALGA, our municipalities remain in a dire state. We remain cautiously optimistic about SALGA's intention to implement a self-sustaining funding model from 2016-2018 onwards, because many municipalities are unable or unwilling to pay even their electricity and water bills. The Municipal Infrastructure Agency, MISA, will receive over 300 million in the current and the coming financial year to support municipalities with infrastructure delivery. Unfortunately, we have heard this year that MISA was complicit in awarding a contract of over 600 million to the politically connected Sienza Group without a competitive bidding process being followed. Chairperson, MISA cannot be just another state entity which, where entrepreneurs come knocking on the door for lucrative contracts. The department will also transfer 116.8 million to the Commission for the Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Cultural, Linguistic,
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Ministers, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Members, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Through you, Chair, it will be important that when we come here, we come with facts, not come here and play for the public. And I will also request Honorable Carter that she makes time to attend our committee meetings, because she has never been in our committee meetings and she comes here and misleads the nation. It is important for her to be factual in everything that she says. She has embarrassed herself into saying there must be a sphere of local government when we already have the sphere of local government. Chairperson, allow me to pass my condolences to the family of Mayor Ruth Mpati. She has been a stalwart of our movement, and today, as I stand here as a woman, it is through her selfless efforts towards the emancipation of women, and I am proud of her contributions to us as women today. Lala Ngoxolo Mbogodo. In support of the budget vote for on behalf of the African National Congress, in the year of the Freedom Charter and Unity in Action to advance economic freedom as it has been declared by President J.G. Zuma in his 2015 State of the Nation address. Fellow South Africans, it is important for us as a nation not to forget where we come from, so that we will not find ourselves making the mistake of praising the previous oppressors as it has happened during the DA elective conference, wherein one Mr. Alistair Sparks boldly told the delegates that he considered Verwoerd as one really smart politician. Abahlali baseNingizimu Afrika mabangakhohliseki ngoba uANC useseyiyo inhlangano nanamhlanje elwaziyo usizi lwabantu kanye nezingqinamba ababhekene nazo. Yingakho enze ukuthi lolu hlelo lwe-Freedom Charter, more especially uClause 3, ethi the people shall share in the country's wealth. Chairperson, historically, during the 20th century, Africa was racially segregated, and the then government was characterized by a strong focus on central planning and control, and almost no role for local authorities in economic planning and development. Beyond certain special planning responsibilities, in addition, it was evident that there was a clear policy of neglect towards many areas where the population was predominantly non-white. Hence, the need to revitalize the local economies. In contrast, the post-1994 government has placed a strong emphasis on community and grassroots initiatives and participation. Importantly, local government is now viewed as a sphere of government with the allocation of a range of roles and responsibilities with respect to economic and social development. This environment has proved to be supportive of the general concept of local economic development. Chairperson, 21 years in the democratic dispensation and 15 years of developmental local government still works within an apartheid landscape where cities and towns are racially segregated, with the poor often living in townships kilometers away from business and industrial areas. The creation of livelihood integrated cities, towns, and rural areas means that we have to overcome the terrible legacy of apartheid. In ensuring that the local authorities do in fact focus on the local economic development as a priority, the ANC-led government introduced mechanisms that will improve the economic and social conditions of our people, as we have inherited significantly inequality gaps, spatial disparities, and backlogs in access to basic services. Municipalities have now been given the roles and responsibilities to develop good plans and strategies, such as the IDP and LED, which will ensure that poverty, unemployment, inequalities, and inequality are dealt with. The Constitution also recognizes the importance of local government in economic development through stating that, open quote, a municipality must structure and manage its administration and budgeting and planning processes to give priority to the basic needs of the community and to promote the social and economic development of the community, close quote. So why don't they do that? The concept of a developmental local government was defined in the white paper on local government as local government committed to working with citizens, groups within the community to find sustainable ways to meet their social, economic, and material needs and improve the quality of their lives. Chairperson, the ANC-led government is indeed implementing Clause 3 of the Freedom Charter, which states people shall share in the country's wealth, which has been brought to life by the introduction of the initiatives such as the Urban Renewal Program and the Neighborhood Development Partnership Grant, which was introduced in the mid-90s as a mechanism to revitalize the historically marginalized towns and townships, which was created by you. Through these approaches or initiatives, government has a decisive and unapologetic role to play in shaping the economic destiny of our country. We have created an environment in which the overall economic and social conditions of the locality are conducive to the creation of employment opportunities is now the responsibility of the local government. That that Honorable Carter requested, which we must have the sphere of local government, when we have, and it has got roles and responsibilities. The ANC indeed is a working organization. Siyasebenza, riyasebenza. re tswela pele. Furthermore, the local economic development is an outcome of actions and interventions resulting from local good governance and the constant improvement and integration of national priorities and programs in local spaces. Therefore, the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, in its 2015-16 budget vote aims at assisting municipalities to be able to facilitate
Thank you.
the Chair, the ANC supports the budget. I thank you.
Yabo.
Point of order, Chair.
Ngibiza umhlonishwa uMbinda.
Point of order, Chair.
Honorable Mbinda, can you take your seat?
Chairperson, I
Continue.
overheard Honorable Malaham whilst the previous speaker was on the podium when she talked about the ANC being hard at work, saying and lining your pockets. That's an allegation of corruption. Is that parliamentary?
Have you said that?
Chairperson, it's a statement of fact. We know that 30 billion rand is missing every year in corruption. So, yes, the ANC is working to line their pockets.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Chair, Honorable Chairperson, you should submit that through a substantive motion. I think the honorable member should withdraw his statement. Thank you.
Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Honorable Mayor, have you referred to the member that was on the podium that was lining their pocket?
Chairperson, I did not refer to the member. I said the ANC is working to line its pockets.
Chair, may I address
Yes,
you?
Honorable Waters.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson,
I would request that we first deal with this particular point of order.
it's on this. It's on this point.
And finalize it.
It's on this point, Chair. May I address you?
Okay.
Thank you.
Continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, Honourable Madam did not cast any aspersions on an individual member. He cast aspersions on a party. And that is parliamentary. If the honourable member had cast aspersions on an individual member, which he hadn't, then yes, he would have to withdraw. But he didn't. He cast aspersions on a party. Many a time the ANC stand up and accuse the DA of A, B, and C, and we've got to take it on the chin. It's time that the ANC took criticism on the chin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Are you also standing on a point of order, Honorable Deputy Minister?
Chairperson, the honourable member said, "Siyasebenza, we are working," to which the honourable Milam said, "Working to line your pockets."
Yes. Honourable members, can I be allowed to consult on this specific matter before we make a ruling, just before the end of this sitting? Thank you very much. Can Honourable Mbinda proceed?
Honourable Chair, honourable members, the system set out by Chapter 3 of the Constitution is very clear in relation to government spheres. We have noted that in respect to policy development, it is centralized. As a result, roles that are played by provinces are not clear. Municipalities are not expected to engage in lawmaking in any substantive way, but they keep on breaking the laws. They know that as political parties we deploy and we recall councillors. An example is that one of Buffalo City and Umnquma municipality, who keep on refusing to create positions as per PAC instructions because of the relationship they have with those particular councillors. They need to understand that we are not asking favors from them, and they must just carry out the instruction because we have created vacancies, as they normally do, by the way, with the ruling party. Too many reports of fraud and corruption in municipalities point towards inappropriate interference exercised by political office bearers. If poor service delivery protests are becoming an order of the day, masses of our country are liberating themselves, so EPAC will have to come in as a vanguard party to give them a direction. The PAC believes that a greater emphasis should be placed on accountability and performance, strengthening the institutional capacity of provincial and local government. Certain restructuring of intergovernmental structure at provincial and local level will ensure that functions are not duplicated. A government should not just manage sectors, but coordinate and integrate functions in order to promote sustainable development. We know that if political office bearers and officials in the public sector change their mindset to embrace cooperation, then there will not be chaos with performance and accountability. The department should focus on capacity building and strengthening their institutions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we now call upon Honorable Godi?
We support the vote, Mafrika.
Thank you, you are done. Honorable Godi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, comrades and honorable members. The APC supports the budget vote of COGTA, which has the responsibility of ensuring that participatory democracy and development happens at the local level. The overwhelming majority of municipalities have not fully lived up to their responsibilities. The reports of the Auditor General do not paint a good picture, especially on financial management. Despite the millions spent on consultants, capacity and service delivery still lags. Your back to the basics call is commendable, but to succeed, it requires all spheres to play their role fully. Comrade Minister, there is need to strengthen the oversight capacity in municipalities, especially the municipal public accounts committees. They remain vulnerable to political machinations. We also believe that a full implementation of available legislations would not require the kinds of interventions that you are making. Just look at the provisions of Section 47 of the Systems Act and Sections 131 and 134 of the Municipal Finance Management Act. Councillors and municipal officials must serve the public wholeheartedly, shun corruption, waste, and mismanagement, report through appropriate channels any acts of financial misconduct. The people deserve better. I also want to state, Comrade Minister, that the institution of traditional leadership is part of the Constitution, but it appears as if it is being attended to piecemeal and reluctantly. Our concern is especially about the motive force of that institution, that is the headmen and headwomen, traditional councillors and employees in traditional authority offices. Their plight was laid bare to the Director General in a recent meeting in his offices. The APC calls for decisive action to address their misery. Lastly, the APC supports your call for all of us to urge and educate the public about their civic responsibility to pay for services, respect and preserve public facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Call upon Honorable Madam.
Such a good story to tell. Chairperson, according to the Roman historian Tacitus, citizens of ancient Rome watched helplessly as their city burned for 6 days and 7 nights. The great fire that consumed Rome in 64 AD spread quickly to destroy more than 70% of the city. Legend has it that the Emperor of Rome, Nero, had set the fire himself in order to rebuild the city in a style more to his liking. But the most enduring rumor of all was that Nero had played the fiddle while watching his capital burn. Fast forward now to 2015. South Africa's municipalities are in complete disarray. Service delivery protests are widespread, reaching a record high in 2014, according to Municipal IQ's Hotspot Monitor. And for the record, most of those were recorded in Gauteng, narrowly followed by the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. Chairperson, South Africa is burning. But what does our good Minister Gordon do? He fiddles. His Back to the Basic program has demonstrated no tangible outcomes. It is aimed at ensuring that all municipalities perform their basic functions and responsibilities. And although the program itself is well-intentioned, it does not address the primary cause of local government failure, namely the deployment of incompetent or overly politicized ANC cadres. The department's previous attempts to address the systemic issues in local government, Project Consolidate, the local government turnaround strategy, Batopele, Operation Clean Audit, were all spectacular failures, and there is little indication that this program is going to be any improvement. Now, in reply to a question I asked the Minister in this House on 10 September last year, he said, "Please can I be given a few months to implement Back to Basics?" It's been 8 months. What has he achieved? Nothing. The Minister decided to seek the amalgamation of municipalities in order to ensure financial viability. Well, so much for Back to Basics. He did this with a little over a year to go before the local government elections, knowing full well that such amalgamations would disrupt the ward delimitation process and delay the IEC's voter registration. It is clear that these amalgamations are thinly veiled attempts to gerrymander ANC majorities in municipalities where the ANC has failed to deliver. And as if that wasn't enough, he allocates a mere 139 million rand over the course of the next 3 years to cushion the effects of those amalgamations, when it's common cause that the merger of Metswedeng with Tshwane cost in the region of 1.2 billion rand, and that was for one municipality, Minister. Now, if we have so many dysfunctional municipalities, as your own government analysis indicates, why have there not been more Section 139 interventions or more Section 154 support and assistance? And on that note, what happened to the promised legislation to regulate those interventions? Again, Minister, I say to you that you are fiddling while South Africa burns. The Minister has admitted to the Portfolio Committee that the division of revenue allocated to local government, a mere 9%, is too little for them to fulfill their mandates. And pointed out that, Selga reiterated this, and pointed out that the allocation for electricity supply in the equitable share fell short by 3.56 billion rand of the cost of actually providing the service. The allocation for water also fell short. Given that the equitable share is meant to ensure the provision of basic services to indigent consumers, is it any wonder that municipalities are unable to meet their basic obligations to Eskom and the water boards? We note further that the baseline allocation for conditional grants to municipalities has been significantly reduced, despite, as we are repeatedly informed by municipalities in Selga, of an increase in the number of unfunded mandates devolved on them by national and provincial government. And while we're talking about equitable share, where was the Minister when the withholding of this grant to 59 municipalities was discussed in Portfolio Committee on Tuesday? During that meeting, National Treasury was unable to point to the legal authority to withhold the equitable share from those municipalities. And of all those municipalities, only 13 out of the 59 have ever been under Section 139 administration. It seems obvious that this should be the first step when municipalities face financial difficulties, not the withholding of much-needed grant funding intended to ensure the provision of free basic services to the indigent. And yet, this was not done. National Treasury took the draconian step of stopping the payment of grant funding without so much as consulting the municipalities concerned. So again, we have a minister who fiddles while municipalities burn. The proposed cutting of electricity to 20 municipalities by Eskom in a misguided effort to force them to pay their bills is a further example. This is little more than punishing the residents, many of whom pay their bills religiously, for the failures of the municipalities and their incompetent leaders. The DA is pleased to note, however, that the department has heeded our call for electricity revenue in those municipalities to be ring-fenced for the sole purposes of settling their obligations to Eskom and the maintenance and improvement of electricity reticulation. Now, in contrast to our minister, who is more absent than present, perhaps he's still dealing with those SARS investigations, the DA has an inspiring and uplifting vision for towns and cities in South Africa. We believe that local government is key to ensuring a better quality of life for all our people. To make this better life a reality, our governments must be forward-thinking. They must create caring, safe and inclusive environments for all our residents, be well-run and provide opportunity for all. As I raised last year during the budget debate, the DA calls on government to review the funding model for local government, to reject unfunded mandates from national and provincial government, to ensure that a minimum of 7% of operational budgets is allocated to the maintenance of municipal infrastructure, to promote inclusivity and diversity and redress past spatial injustices, to hold municipal officials and public representatives accountable, and to reject the policy of cadre deployment. In conclusion, Chairperson, I have a few questions for the Minister today. When are you going to answer all these questions I have in my hand that remain improperly responded to? When are you going to properly attend to your parliamentary duties by attending portfolio committee meetings? When are you going to constructively engage with me and other members of Parliament who seek to raise concerns with you and your department? Minister Nero, the time has come to face facts. South Africa's municipalities under your administration are collapsing. Service delivery protests and citizen dissatisfaction are on the rise. Our country is burning, and you, sir, are fiddling.
Thank you.
All right, would you like the questions?
Order. Order. Thank you very much. Now, sibiza umhlonishwa umdakana.
The Honorable Chairpersons, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Deputy Ministers, MECs, Mayors and Councillors, traditional leaders, comrades and friends. I rise on this occasion on behalf of the African National Congress with the support of the Portfolio Committee in support of this budget vote for allocation to the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. On the 8th of May, 1996, all parties represented in the National Assembly at the time adopted our Constitution, whose preamble captured the term that South Africa belongs to all who live in it. On the 26th of June this year, South Africans will celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Freedom Charter. The city of Johannesburg will host a celebration at the place where the Freedom Charter was adopted, at Walter Sisulu Square of Dedication in Kliptown in Soweto. The celebration will honor the square-rich history and activities of ordinary people who braved the police intimidation in order to be part of the Congress of the People that adopted the Freedom Charter. Let me comment on two issues. First, ukuya kumhlonishwa uBhanga. Isilo samabandla sichazile inkulumo yaso esiyenza ophongolo. Sathi azange sisho lento ishoyo. Ingxako nayo. Ngaso sonke isikhathi ukhuluma izinto ozizwe emabhasini. Nazi ingxako nayo. Kade wasesikuzama iminyaka sikuzama ukuthi ungakhulumi into oyizwe emabhasini. Manje ngoba ulaleli uyayenza lento. Musa kukwenza izinto ezingafanelanga umhlonishwa. Abahlonishwa bonke mabeza la kufanele bekhulume lokho abakwaziyo. Abangakwazi bekuyena ngoba kuyasiphazamisa kakhulu. Okunye ke engicela ukuthi ukwenza ukuthi wazi ukuthi umsebenzi esiwenzayo ukwenza ngcono impilo zabantu uyaqhubeka. Honorable Gallo raised the issue of corruption. But what is strange, though, I accept that corruption is a problem, is a disease, all of us must defeat it. But I would have thought that those who know people who are corrupt, they must go to the police and report them. They must go and report them. Because it's a crime. But then honorable members come here and just play on the issues when they should go and report those people who are corrupt. Because anyway, corruption is a thing on that. I think Honorable Gallo, as he goes to Matatiele, is going to do that tomorrow. He wouldn't just come here and tell us about corruption, but he doesn't report anyone who's corrupt, because that's a bigger problem. Honorable Melhem, two things that you should note and accept. A minister is not a member of a portfolio committee. He attends a meeting of portfolio committee on invitation to come and account and report to the committee. He was not at a meeting precisely because he submitted his apology, and the committee accepted his apology because he was deployed to do the work to improve the quality of life of people. But also, another problem that is here is just parties come here, but we don't even know their policies. They come here, use their natural intelligence, but no policy that is put forward of addressing the challenges that we are facing at the local government level. The ANC, I'm coming to you. The ANC has presented a plan, back to basics. The plan was accepted by all parties in the chamber. And we have started to implement the plan. And the plan is working. We are bettering the living conditions of people in every corner of our country. We have also accepted that the plan is not going to be implemented overnight, but the program is there. We have started to implement it. In fact, we have changed. We have arrested people who are corrupt. We don't come and talk about them here. We arrest them. We have dealt with the problem that is faced by our people. We have dealt with the question of basic services. The plan is being implemented as we are speaking here. The problem also, Honorable Mashrugu, at least we have known you for some time, but you have never presented any substantive issue that all of us, we can then engage and entertain the discussion of the organization. Every time you come here, generally, I know that you will use your natural intelligence because you got no policy. You got no policy. If you submit your policies, then we can engage. I accept, though, that the ANC is a leader of this society. The ANC is a liberation movement. Therefore, I accept that all of you, you'll make the policies of the ANC a reference point. We accept that. But Melhem, we've got one problem. First, one thing that is worrying me about you, every time you participate in a debate, you demonstrate anger of a highest order. You have to decide. We are not the one who are going to decide which trend of liberalism must follow. It's not us who have to decide for you, but we have to decide whether the negative liberalism that we are following is the correct one or not. We are not the one that are going to decide it for you. But your approach in general sometimes makes it still difficult even to understand the point that we are talking about. Because you know that even your party have a conference, I think last week, no policy matter that you debated in that conference. No policy matter that you debated at that conference. You got no policy on local government. You got no policy on local government. What you do is to take the ANC policies and use them as your own policies. In fact, your leader anyway. Your leader, I think, has taken him not less than 20 years to understand that the enemies of our people is poverty, unemployment, and inequality. It took him so many years to understand that. And then suddenly he's talking that language of the ANC because the ANC is the leader of his society. And we accept that, that's the point that you are saying. Therefore, you should address some of these issues. We know that many members. No, I know. Your issues that you address in the speech, they are not saying anything. Because you have repeated several times and we've given you answer on each and every point that you have raised. And every day you come in, raise the same issues. They don't become new because you are saying them. We have answered some of those issues long time ago. There's no other issue that you should be coming here and raising with us. We think that it's important to understand that because some of the issues that were raised, even by Honorable Mahlugu, we agree with you on Honorable Hlengwa. Some of the points that you have raised, we accept it. But again, the ANC has always, since its formation, respected the traditional leadership institution. We have never questioned the existence of kings and chiefs and traditional system. We always respected them. In fact, many of them, they were part of the conference that formed the ANC. The point that we are raising, no one is above the law in South Africa. No one is above the law in South Africa. No one ever argued that the kings are above the law in South Africa.
Mbanga,
Then it can't
don't
work
interrupt
that
the
way.
speaker.
And the thing that, the point that we are raising, Honorable Chair, is that the challenges that we are facing at the local government level, we have a plan to address them. We have implemented the plan. Majority of our people everywhere in the country, they are very excited that the plan is in place. They've seen the results of the plan. Of course, you are opposition. We are opposition. Surely you are opposition, then we have to say anything that you want to say, precisely because you got no responsibility to govern the country. You got no responsibility to govern the country. And then you can say anything that you want to say. But the point, though, the point that you must face, is it correct for you in 21st century to follow negative liberalism? You must take a decision on that yourself as a party. Because the manner in which we are engaging on matters, we are very negative. We are very negative. Then we are not addressing some of these issues that we have raised. Let me, Honorable Chair, just raise the issue that Honorable Carter, the ANC is not panicking for anything. We are addressing the problems of our people. We live with them. We understand their suffering. That's why we are working day and night to resolve those problems. Surely, we are with them every time. That's why we are resolving their problem, because we understand the suffering of our people. And we have no time to waste discussing matters that we got no policy even to attend to. Where's the policy? Where's this policy? Where's the policy? There's no policy here. No, there's no policy here. The point that we are raising, though, is that all of us, members of the governing party, we are committed to implement our manifesto. We are committed to implement the Back to Basic program. We are committed to ensure that we address the problems of our people. And then we are fighting against corruption. We are fighting against nepotism. But also, what you don't appreciate, that is the ANC itself. In fact, there's no other party as transparent as an ANC in the world. There's no other party. In fact, I've never seen any party like the ANC in terms of the transparency of the ANC. You know that when we design the Back to Basics, we said these are political problems that are facing the local authority. We gave you that information, you know very well. We said that corruption is the problem. We said that factions sometimes are a problem. We said that there are a lot of issues that we said. We are not telling us those issues. Suddenly you become the expert of local government because you are debating here when you know that you got no capacity to do so. You got no capacity to do so. Because that's a bigger problem that you are facing. But we'll address some of the issues.
Thank you, Honorable Mdaga.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairpersons.
Yes.
And we'll have a discussion in committees and then we'll discuss some of those issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we now allow the minister to close up the debate?
Chairperson, as the Honorable Mdekane said, ours is the responsibility to transform, ours is the responsibility to change, ours is the responsibility to serve 50 million people, not just a small fraction. Ours is the responsibility to act on those things that we see as in the interest of all of the people of South Africa. In the case of local government and the Back to Basics program, that is exactly what we're doing. So let me reiterate. The first is that the Back to Basics program is working. Secondly, there's evidence that we are shifting municipalities from states of dysfunctionality or challenges that they have. We have lists of them, and there's proof that as we continue, we will do so. Secondly, in respect of the ESCOM debt, we have an approach which is saying let's sit collaboratively with the Treasury, with SALGA, with the affected municipalities, and let's solve the problems. I think it's common sense that as municipalities face some of these challenges, we certainly need to review the fiscal framework within which we work. So I don't think it takes any rocket scientist to come along and tell us, I'm proposing that this fiscal framework must change. It will change. It has been evolving. It will evolve further as we actually go on. I've taken the trouble to meet the mayors and municipal managers of the top 20 municipalities that are affected by this particular problem. We have a clear plan of action. We will monitor and we will implement that plan of action. We've made it clear to them that they, together with us, must make sure that communities pay. We must make sure that government departments pay. I said so in the speech. They need to ensure much better financial management than they've been undertaking up to this point in time, and make sure that they collect the debt that is actually due to them. On the question of corruption, we just go on pointing fingers. The chair of the Portfolio Committee is right. I've told you, 115 forensic reports have appeared before us. 98 of them have been assessed with the law enforcement agencies. 4 types of actions are being taken: asset forfeiture, disciplinary hearings, criminal prosecutions, and civil claims. And take up the chair's offer. Come and tell us in the next debate, how many complaints have you laid with the police about corruption taking place, with specific examples of it actually taking place? And then let's have a debate on this matter. On the question of improving services to the people, we are developing a shared service model which is going to enhance our ability as municipalities to make sure that even the smaller municipalities that lack planning capability, engineering capability, or legal capability are provided with those capabilities as we go forward. On the question of procurement, I reiterate, we've said that we want to save money, we want to spend our money better, we want better deals with the private sector in respect of those goods and services that are related to municipal infrastructure. In a few months' time, we can come back to Parliament and say what progress we've made in this regard. We want to promote citizen participation and ensure that citizens also help us to understand where the difficulties are in municipalities and how we actually deal with them being part of this particular process. Now, Mr. Banga, Honorable Banga, perhaps the newly crowned leader of your party needs to tell South Africa, where do you stand on traditional leadership? Where do you stand on the constitutional recognition that traditional leaders are given? Where do you stand in respect of the total disrespect that you've shown His Majesty the King? I think there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between disagreement with something and disrespect for somebody. And that is what the Democratic Alliance doesn't understand. They don't understand what it means to fire cheap shots across the floor here without the consequences of those shots. I think you've got to learn what it means to be principled sometimes, as difficult as it might be. But Honorable Banga, your comments are inflammatory, they are dangerous, they are risky in the kind of diverse society in which we live. You need to go home and think about that. Honorable Schlengwa is absolutely right, that if local government fails, it affects our people. There are some things that we need to put above everything else. There are some things we need to make work despite our political differences. And that's the call and the maturity that is required. And Chairperson, I'm not sure whether we're going to get it from everybody on the left of this particular floor. Honorable Grunewald inspires a particular thought, Chairperson. And that particular thought, is it not time to start helping those of us that are still in a denialist mode about our past, to have a special debate on 20 years of since apartheid, and what do we still suffer from as a result of apartheid? Honorable Grunewald, don't be a denialist. Face the facts of life. Even in your language as you stand here, although through translation, you can't help yourself but say them and us. You constantly refer to them in an insulting, derogatory way. No, you must rethink about how you approach these particular questions. We are no longer your servants. We are no longer second-class citizens. We are equal citizens in a democratic South Africa. Learn to respect us. Learn to respect us. Honorable Carter, I see.
Agbare voorsitter, punt van
Honorable
orde.
Carter, you've let yourself down.
Honorable Minister, just take
I'll
your
stand
seat.
if you don't mind.
Just take your seat. Just take your seat.
Ek wag net dat die agbare minister sit. Ek het respek vir hom, dis hoekom ek wag.
Is that a point of order?
Dis 'n punt van orde, ja.
Yeah.
Agbare minister, op 'n punt van orde wil ek weet of dit aanvaarbaar en parlementêr is dat die agbare minister hier kan kom en 'n onwaarheid sê van wat ek gesê het. Ek was nog nooit disrespekvol of enigsins andersins veral teenoor die agbare minister te gewees het nie. En as ek praat van hom, hy is die minister, nie ek nie. Dis hoe eenvoudig dit is.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's not a point of order. Can you continue, Minister?
Yeah, no, Honorable Chair, when we're at the receiving end, it's always a bit more difficult. When the giving is happening, it seems it's actually fairly easy. To Honorable Matsepe, let me make it very clear. There is no complicity between MISA and the Cienza project. In fact, there are certain processes which unfortunately are subject to the law, but about which we will be commenting publicly soon, which indicates that there's certain things that we've got to review as a result of new information that we have. So please be careful about the allegations that you make. Honorable Godi, we agree with you on oversight and the necessity to actually strengthen impacts within our particular environment. Now, Chairperson, I thought Honorable Melham would have something substantial to say. Once again, he's displayed his total bankruptcy. He displays his total inadequacy in trying to understand the nature of the challenges that we face, but also the nature of the progress that we've made as South Africa. For him to stand here with such melodrama, in Durban, where I come from, if the Honorable Chairperson doesn't mind, we call these drama queens. Right? Creating melodrama about South Africa burning. Where is it burning? Is that the image that this patriotic member of the Democratic Alliance wants to create about South Africa? That we are burning. We are a country in disarray. We are a country that doesn't know where it is going. Hey? Is that how you go about winning votes? With such irresponsibility, no sense of what it means to have national interest at heart. You must be able to differentiate between national interest and party political interest. I repeat, there are times when you must put party political interest second. Your analogy is about Nero and fiddling. You fiddle around whilst you also deny and become an apartheid denialist about the spatial arrangement in Cape Town or anywhere else. How can we deny that we still have the structural effects of apartheid spatial planning? We are still waiting for the Democratic Alliance, its leadership, both in Parliament and elsewhere, to tell us where do they stand on Mr. Verwoerd. We haven't heard a thing.
Honorable Minister.
We haven't heard a thing.
Honorable
So are they in sympathy with Mr. Verwoerd?
Honorable Minister, just take your seat.
Chairperson, the Minister is misleading the House.
No.
He is misrepresenting what I said. I at no stage denied any spatial injustices. In fact, in my statement, I called for a redress of the spatial injustices. That is a misrepresentation of what I said completely.
Honorable Millaham is an apartheid denialist.
Chairperson, I demand that be withdrawn.
He is an apartheid denialist.
Chair, I demand
He
that be
doesn't want to
withdrawn.
confront.
It's not a point of order.
He doesn't want to confront the reality of the effects of apartheid on our municipalities.
Point of order.
Chairperson.
I continue, Chairperson.
Just, Honorable Minister, just take your seat. Take your seat, Honorable Minister.
May I address
What are you
Chair?
standing on?
A point of order. May I address
Yes,
you?
okay, proceed.
Thank you. Chairperson, the Honourable Minister just said Honourable Malam is an apartheid denialist. Therefore, casting aspersions on an individual member, and therefore he should withdraw that comment.
Honorable Minister, just take your seat. Honorable Minister, just continue, take your seat.
Oh, we're not finished yet.
Take your seat there.
How dare you? Yeah, that's fair.
Honorable members, we are too close to the end of this debate. We are too close to the end of this debate, and we have been conducting ourselves a lot more better. And I would have loved us to complete the debate more successfully than really creating drama right at the end of the debate. Honorable members, can you allow the minister just to complete what is on now?
Now, Chairperson, I ask you to make a ruling on what the Honourable Minister called an individual member.
Honorable Minister, continue to have your seat. Just take your seat. Yes. What are you standing on?
Honourable Chair, I rose on a point of order that the Honourable Minister called an individual member, Honourable Malam, an apartheid denialist. It casts aspersions directly on an individual member, which is unparliamentary. I'd like you to make a ruling and ask the Minister to withdraw those comments, please. Thank you.
Honourable Chairperson.
Honourable Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I don't understand the thinking of these honourable members, Chairperson. The minister is responding to what they said. What is wrong with that? If the kitchen is too hot, just get out.
Honorable, I thought that honorable members, I thought that the honorable minister is expressing a view. And therefore, that's why I was requesting us not to transform a view that is expressing on what he is hearing and create drama on the debate.
Chairperson, may I address you?
Honourable Waters.
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, the Minister was directly casting aspersions on an individual member of the House. And I would hope that the table would actually guide you in this manner. And that we have precedent in this House that when a member casts aspersion on another individual member, they must withdraw those statements. Please.
Honourable Chairperson, if I may address you.
I have to address you. Join the fun.
Honourable Chair.
Honourable Deputy Chief Whip.
Honourable Chairperson, the very same member did the same thing with the Honourable Mthembu and he refused to withdraw. We were sitting here, so we cannot, if you can take it, just get out.
Yes, Honourable Nell.
No, Chairperson.
Yes.
The test that applies in this House, a remark must be unparliamentary. I don't know to say that a member has cast an aspersion on another member, what that means. The issue is that remark unparliamentary or not?
Yes.
Chairperson, perhaps the best would be to study Hansard and to give a considered ruling on the matter.
Yes, honorable members, I think that will be the best route. And at the moment, of course, is the minister is the last speaker on the debate, which means that after consultation on this specific matter, the ruling will then have to be made in the next opportunity of a plenary on that specific one. Honorable members, earlier, yes, Honorable Minister, you can continue and complete the debate.
So, Honorable Chairperson, an apartheid denialist is one who denies that space is configured during that period and that it still affects us. An apartheid denialist is one who doesn't take history into account in terms of the kind of challenges that we face on the ground. An apartheid denialist is the one who can't understand nor provides answers, as the Honorable Chairperson said, about how do we recover from the kind of backlogs that we actually have. An apartheid denialist is one who just blandly says, if I govern this place, I can do everything that needs to be done. That's not true. An apartheid denialist is one who doesn't confront the very structural challenges that our society actually faces at this point in time. But in conclusion, Chairperson, let me thank my two deputy ministers for the kind of support and good work relationship that we have. To the two Directors General, Maronsela and Noila, and the various officials in the department, the staff in my office, the Chair of the Portfolio Committee, Mr. Mdakane, and members of the Portfolio Committee, the Salga leadership, the MECs, the mayors, and the municipal managers, and indeed all of the political parties that have supported this vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And honorable members, earlier I've indicated on the earlier point of order that we are making consultation, and I have not completed verifying the exact words that have been said. And therefore, I'll request that that point of order, together with this last point of order, will then be made in the next earliest plenary by the chair of this House. Members are reminded that the debate on public enterprises and environmental affairs budget votes will take place at 1640 in the National Assembly Chamber and Old Assembly Chamber respectively. That concludes the debate and the business of this extended public committee. The committee will now rise. Thank you very much.